Problematic social media use, PSMU, refers to excessive, maladaptive, or addictive use of social media platforms that negatively impacts an individual's well-being and daily functioning. It's characterized by preoccupation with social media, loss of control over its use, and negative consequences in various life domains. Excessive use of social media can lead to problems including impaired functioning and a reduction in overall well-being, for both users and those around them. Such usage is associated with the risk of mental health problems, sleep problems, academic struggles, and daytime fatigue. Psychological or behavioral dependence on social media platforms can result in significant negative functions in people's daily lives. Women are at a great risk for experiencing problems related to social media use. The risk of problems is also related to the type of platform of social media or online community being used. People of different ages and genders may be affected in different ways by problematic social media use. Signs and symptoms. Signs of social media addiction or excessive use of social media include many behaviors similar to substance use disorders, including mood modification, salience, tolerance, stress withdrawal symptoms, psychological distress, anxiety and depression, conflict, and relapse, and low self-esteem. People with problematic social media habits are at risk of being addicted and may require more time on social media as time passes. Frequent social media use may also be associated self-reported symptoms of attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. Social anxiety, or fear of missing out, is another potential symptom. Social anxiety is defined as having intense anxiety or fear of being judged, negatively evaluated, or rejected in a social or performance situation. The fear of missing out can contribute to excessive usage due to frequent checking the media constantly throughout the day to check in and see what others are doing instead of doing other activities. Displacement, or replacing meaningful other activities with social media and loneliness, are common signs. Causes and mechanisms. There are many theories for the mechanism or cause behind a person having problematic social media use. The transition from normal to problematic social media use occurs when a person relies on it to relieve stress, loneliness, depression, or provide continuous rewards. Cognitive behavioral model. People increase their use of social media when they are in unfamiliar environments or awkward situations. Social skill model. People pull out their phones and use social media when they prefer virtual communication as opposed to face-to-face interactions because they lack self-presentation skills. Socio-cognitive model. This person uses social media because they love the feeling of people liking and commenting on their photos and tagging them in pictures. They are attracted to the positive outcomes they receive on social media. There are parallels to the gambling industry inherent to the design of various social media sites, with ludic loops or repeated cycles of uncertainty, anticipation and feedback potentially contributing to problematic social media use. Another factor directly facilitating the development of addiction to social media is the implicit attitude toward the IT artifact. Social media use may also stimulate the reward pathway in the brain. There is also a theory that social media addiction fulfills a basic evolutionary drives in the wake of mass urbanization worldwide. The basic psychological needs of secure, predictable community life that evolved over millions of years remain unchanged, leading some to find online communities to cope with the new individualized way of life in some modern societies. The evolutionary mismatch hypothesis holds that modern digital platforms amplify social competition and comparison in ways our ancestors never faced, possibly triggering maladaptive patterns such as anxiety, depression, or compulsive use. Similarly, some scholars compare social media to junk food. The approach taken to develop social media platforms may contribute to problematic social media use. The ability to scroll and stream content endlessly and how app developers distort time by affecting the flow of content when scrolling, potentially resulting in the Zeigarnik effect. The human brain will continue to pursue an unfinished task until a satisfying closure. Autoplay modes. The personalized nature of the content results in emotional attachment, i.e., the user values this above its actual value, which is referred to as the endowment effect, and the exposure effect. Repeated exposure to a distinct stimulus by the user can condition the user into an enhanced or improved attitude toward it. The interactive nature of the platforms, including the ability to like content, has also been linked. Even though social media can satisfy personal communication needs, those who use it at higher rates are shown to have higher levels of psychological distress. Diagnosis. While there is no official diagnostic term or measurement, problematic social media use is conceptualized as a non-substance-related disorder, resulting in preoccupation and compulsion to engage excessively in social media platforms despite negative consequences. No diagnosis exists for problematic social media use in either the ICD-11 or DSM-5. Excessive use of an activity, like social media, does not directly equate with addiction. There are other factors that could lead to someone's social media addiction, including personality traits and pre-existing tendencies. While the extent of social media use and addiction are positively correlated, it is erroneous to employ use, the degree to which one makes use of the site's features, the effort exerted during use sessions, access frequency, etc., as a proxy for addiction. Indicators of a potential dependence on social media include mood swings. A person uses social media to regulate his or her mood, or as a means of escaping real-world conflicts. Relevance. Social media starts to dominate a person's thoughts at the expense of other activities. Tolerance. A person increases their time spent on social media to experience previously associated feelings they had while using social media. Withdrawal. When a person cannot access social media, their sleeping or eating habits change, or signs of depression or anxiety can become present. Conflicts in real life. When social media is used excessively, it can affect real-life relationships with family and friends. Additional criteria include salience. Social media becomes the most important part of someone's life. Mood modification. A person uses social media as a means of escape because it makes them feel high, buzzed, or numb. Tolerance. A person gradually increases their time spent on social media to maintain that escapist feeling. Withdrawal. Unpleasant feelings or physical sensations when the person is unable to use social media or does not have access to it. Conflict. Social media use causes conflict in interpersonal dynamics, loses desire to participate in other activities, and becomes pervasive. Relapse. The tendency for previously affected individuals to revert to previous patterns of excessive social media use. There have been several scales developed and validated that help to understand the issues regarding problematic social media use. There is not one single scale that is being used by all researchers. Treatment. Screen time recommendations for children and families have been developed by the American Academy of Pediatrics. Possible therapeutic interventions published include self-help interventions, including application-specific timers, cognitive behavioral therapy, and organizational and schooling support. Medications have not been shown to be effective in randomized, controlled trials for the related conditions of internet addiction disorder or gaming disorder. Prevention. Prevention approaches include screen time monitoring apps and other tech-based approaches to improve efficiency and decrease screen time, and tools to help with addiction to online platform products. Parents' methods for monitoring, regulating, and understanding their children's social media use are referred to as parental mediation. Parental mediation strategies include active, restrictive, and co-using methods. Active mediation involves direct parent-child conversations that are intended to educate children on social media norms and safety, as well as the variety and purposes of online content. Restrictive mediation entails the implementation of rules, expectations, and limitations regarding children's social media use and interactions. Co-use is when parents jointly use social media alongside their children, and is most effective when parents are actively participating, like asking questions, making inquisitive/supportive comments, versus being passive about it. Active mediation is the most common strategy used by parents, though the key to success for any mediation strategy is consistency/reliability. When parents reinforce rules inconsistently, have no mediation strategy, or use highly restrictive strategies for monitoring their children's social media use, there is an observable increase in children's aggressive behaviors. When parents openly express that they are supportive of their child's autonomy and provide clear, consistent rules for media use, problematic usage and aggression decreases. Knowing that consistent, autonomy-supportive mediation has more positive outcomes than inconsistent, controlling mediation, parents can consciously foster more direct, involved, and genuine dialogue with their children. This can help prevent or reduce problematic social media use in children and teenagers. Outcomes: adolescents and teens. Increased social media use and exposure to social media platforms can lead to negative results and bullying over time. While social media's main intention is to share information and communicate with friends and family, there is more evidence pertaining to negative factors rather than positive ones. Social media use has been linked to an increased risk of depression and self-harm. Those from the ages of 13 to 15 may struggle the most with these issues, but they can be seen in college students as well. According to the Center for Disease Control and Prevention's 2019 Youth Risk Behavior Surveillance System, data showed that approximately 15% of high school students were electronically bullied in the 12 months prior to the survey that students were asked to complete. Bullying over social media has sparked suicide rates immensely within the last decade. Older people. Older generations are affected by social media in different areas to teens and young adults. Social media plays an integral role in the daily lives of middle-aged adults, especially in regards to their career and communication. Studies have suggested that many individuals feel that smartphones are vital for their career planning and success, but a pressure to connect with family and friends via social media becomes an issue. This is reinforced by further studies suggesting that middle-aged people feel more isolated and lonely due to the use of social media, to the extent of diagnosis of anxiety and depression with excessive use. Similarly, to teens and young adults, comparisons to others is often the reason for negative mental impacts amongst middle-aged individuals. Surveys suggest that a pressure to perform and feelings of inferiority due to observing others' lives through social media has caused depression and anxiety amongst middle-class individuals specifically. However, older generations do reap the benefits of the rise of social media. The feelings of loneliness and isolation have decreased in elderly individuals who use social media to connect to others, ultimately leading to a more fulfilling and physically healthy lifestyle, due to the ability to communicate and stay in touch with people they would have physically not been able to see. Education. Excessive use of social media may impact academic performance negatively. An increased usage on social media may take time away from time dedicated to academics. In school, many teachers report that their students are unfocused and unmotivated. There may be a link between spending free time on social media and weaker critical thinking skills, impatience, and a lack in perseverance. There is also a risk of students struggling with attention and focusing because of how fast their phone can change from topic to topic. Eating disorders. People with problematic social media use have an increased risk for eating disorders, especially in females, through the extensive use of social media. Adolescents are exposed to images of bodies that are unattainable, especially with the growing presence of photo editing apps that allow you to alter the way that your body appears in a photo, and social media can foster an environment for harmful online communities such as those that promote unhealthy habits. Along with that is the normalization of cosmetic surgery, which sets unrealistic beauty standards as well. This can, in turn, influence both the diet and exercise practices of adolescents as they try to fit the standard that their social media consumption has set for them. Psychologists estimate that as many as 5 to 10% of Americans meet the criteria for social media addiction today. A survey conducted by Pew Research Center from January 8 through February 7, 2019, found that 80% of Americans go online every day. Among young adults, 48% of 18 to 29-year-olds reported going online almost constantly, and 46% of them reported going online multiple times per day. Young adults going online almost constantly increased by 9% just since 2018. On July 30, 2019, U.S. Senator Josh Hawley introduced the Social Media Addiction Reduction Technology, SMART, Act, which is intended to crack down on practices that exploit human psychology or brain physiology to substantially impede freedom of choice. It specifically prohibits features including infinite scrolling and autoplay. A study conducted by Junling Gao and Associates in Wuhan, China, on mental health during the COVID-19 outbreak revealed that there was a high prevalence of mental health problems including generalized anxiety and depression. This had a positive correlation to frequent social media exposure. Based on these findings, the Chinese government increased mental health resources during the COVID-19 pandemic, including online courses, online consultation, and hotline resources. Cultural and history. From an anthropological lens, addiction to social media is a socially constructed concept that has been medicalized because this behavior does not align with behavior accepted by certain hegemonic social groups. In November 2017, a 14-year-old British girl from Harrow, London, named Molly Russell, took her own life after viewing negative, graphic, and descriptive content primarily on social media platforms such as Instagram and Pinterest. The coroner of this case, Andrew Walker, also concluded that Molly's death was an act of self-harm suffering from depression and the negative effects of online content. Molly's case has sparked a lot of attention not only across the UK but in the US as well. It raises the question on whether or not policies and regulations will either be set into place or changed to protect the safety of children on the internet. Child safety campaigners hope that creating regulations will help to shift the fundamentals that are associated with social media platforms such as Instagram and Pinterest. Laws, policies, and regulations to minimize harm. Molly Russell's case sparked discussion both in the UK and the US on how to protect individuals from harmful online content. In the UK, the Online Safety Bill was officially introduced into Parliament in March 2022. The bill covers a range of possible dangerous content such as revenge porn, grooming, hate speech, or anything related to suicide. Overall, the bill will not only protect children from online content but talk about how they can deal with this content that may be illegal. It also covers verification roles and advertising, as this will all be covered on the social media platform's terms and conditions page. If the social media platforms fail to comply with these new regulations, they will face a $7,500 fine for each offense. When it comes to the US, recommendations were offered such as finding an independent agency to implement a system of regulations similar to the Online Safety Bill in the UK. Another potential idea was finding a specific rule-making agency where the authority is strictly and solely focused on a digital regulator who is available 24/7. California already launched an act called the Age-Appropriate Design Code Act in August 2022, which aims to protect children under the age of 18, especially regarding privacy on the internet. The overall hope and goal of these new laws, policies, and regulations set into place is to 1. Ensure that a case such as Molly's never happens again, and 2. Protects individuals from harmful online content that can lead to mental health problems such as suicide, depression, and self-harm. In 2022, a case was successfully litigated that implicated a social media platform in the suicide of a Canadian teenage girl named Amanda Todd, who died by hanging. This was the first time that any social media platform was held liable for a user's actions. Research. Empirical research indicates that addiction to social media is triggered by dispositional factors, such as personality, desires, and self-esteem, but specific socio-cultural and behavioral reinforcement factors remain to be investigated empirically. Social media addiction may also have other neurobiological risk factors. Understanding this addiction is still being actively studied and researched, but there is some evidence that suggests a possible link between problematic social media use and neurobiological aspects. Thank you for watching this video.